Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Vikings Now by Chad Sports. My name is Patrick Seatman, and coming up on today's show, following the national championship last night, we're going to be diving into the idea if the Vikings should draft a quarterback in this year's upcoming NFL draft, where currently they're slated to pick 11th overall. And then later in the show, Kirk Cousins could be taking a discount to stay in Minnesota. He had a press conference yesterday. We'll dive into the quote and what Kirk had to say about him possibly taking a hometown discount to stay in Minnesota. But if you guys want Kirk Cousins to be QB1 next season, week 1, I need you guys to show me. Like today's video. I'm trying to hit 200 likes. So if you want Kirk to be QB1 for the Vikings next season, like today's video, trying to gauge where the fan base is at. But let's dive into some QB prospects for the Minnesota Vikings. And the first one is, I would say, unlikely, but not like incredibly unlikely for the Vikes. You would probably have to trade up the second overall pick to land the quarterback out of North Carolina, Drake May, and just comparing him to Caleb Williams, who will be the first overall pick in the NFL draft. The reason I didn't include Caleb on this list is because the Chicago Bears own that pick right now, and I really doubt that they would trade Caleb Williams within the division. But talking about these two guys, and specifically Drake May. I mean, Drake May, we've heard the comp. Multiple NFL insiders are comparing him to like a Justin Herbert type of quarterback, and he was great this past season at North Carolina. 3,300 yards, 22 touchdowns, 7 picks, and he has some decent dual threat ability, running for over 340 yards and 8 touchdowns, and I'm a big fan of Drake May. It would take a lot to get up to that number 2 pick. You probably have to swap the 11th pick, throw in another first rounder, probably a second, and even that you might have to throw in some more draft capital to go get up and get Drake May, because other teams will be calling who need a quarterback. So that's why I think Drake May, he is the best option for the Vikings, but I don't know if he is the most likely. But a guy that I do think is very likely, that is Jaden Daniels, the Heisman Trophy winner. And the Vikings got a lot of LSU dudes on their roster, so I think it would just be fitting if they would bring another LSU player to join side Justin Jefferson, Danielle Hunter, and you guys know the rest of them. But Daniels at LSU. The thing I love the most about his game, man, is he has taken that leap from year to year, up in the completion percentage, more passing yards, a better passing touchdown to interception ratio, even the yards per attempt going up by 4.2, and then the overall dual threat ability also going up by a damn near 300 yards, and this was in 2 less games. I mean, the stats on screen right now are a big reason why he did win the Heisman. I think also with a guy like Jaden Daniels, he is a big boomer bust prospect, and with these boomer bust prospects, you need to give them a solid support system. And the Vikings can do that. They do have 2 bookend tackles in Darisaw and O'Neal. You have a young offensive-minded head coach. And obviously when you're throwing the Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, it's going to make your life a whole lot easier. In terms of best fits for some of these guys in this year's draft, I am sure they're all hoping that they will land in Minnesota, even if you want him to take a year behind Kirk Cousins and you re-sign him for him to develop. I think Jaden Daniels would work out really, really well if he stays in the purple and gold. Number 3 is the man who just won the national championship last night, J.J. McCarthy from LaGrange Park, Illinois. JJ, he's just a winner, man, and he won throughout college. And, I do hear the argument that he was carried by his team, and I get that. But also I could make the argument that that was just Michigan's DNA. I guarantee you, if you flop Michael Penix and J.J. McCarthy and you flop their rosters and you gave him 2 elite first-round wide receivers on the outside, I bet you he could have done very similar things to a guy like Penix. I'm a big fan of JJ. I'm a big fan of the intangibles that he brings to the game of football. And I think as a quarterback, the number one thing, obviously arm talent and all of that, the on-the-field stuff matters. But I think intangibles matter for a quarterback more than any other position in the NFL. This kid, he won 2 state championships in high school. He won at Michigan. I bet you he's going to win somewhere if he lands in the right spot in the NFL. I think Minnesota, like I had same reasons for Jaden Daniels, you would offer him a great support system. I think JJ would work out. Now, the guy that lost in the national championship last night, Michael Penix Jr., who also I am a big fan of. I'm not going to overreact to a down performance from Penix. I actually think this Michigan defense has been incredibly underrated the whole year. And, yeah, he struggled last night. I mean, no doubt about it. Completion percentage not too high. Was missing a couple wide-open receivers. Him and Adunze off-key or just off on a couple of throws. But I do still think Penix has talent. And I think Penix would be a guy along with JJ. Maybe not JJ at 11, but drafting Penix at 11 I think would not be the worst thing in the world, and I would be excited about it. I think he is a guy also like Daniels and McCarthy. You're going to have a good support system Vikings can offer that. But I want you guys to predict it for me. Will the Vikings draft a quarterback this year? Give me a D for draft or give me a P for pass, or maybe you think not. And maybe you think that he will, or that Kirk will just be QB1 and they'll try to build around him. Let me know your thoughts down below. But speaking about Kirk possibly being QB1 and taking a discount, that's coming up in just a second. But I do want to first give a big time shout out to today's sponsor. That is Game Time. If you guys are planning on buying tickets to any games, make sure you guys use Game Time. Concerts, music, whatever it may be, Game Time's got you hooked up. And hey, if you're trying to go to a Timberwolves game, Wild game, use Game Time. Download Game Time today and use that code VIKINGSCHAT for $20 off your first purchase. VIKINGSCHAT. Use that promo code VIKINGSCHAT and they'll hook you guys up with $20 off your first purchase. Best seats, lowest price guaranteed. The prices drop as the event gets closer. Lowest price guaranteed. Download Game Time today and use that code VIKINGSCHAT. That link will be in the comments and description of today's show. So Kirk Cousins, he was asked yesterday about taking a hometown discount. And I thought he actually had a pretty cool response. This is what he had to say. He said, I had a coach who I was with who was a younger coach at the time. This was back 8-9 years ago, before my first franchise tag. And we were talking about the situation. And he made a great comment and said, Kirk, it's not about the dollars, but it's about what the dollars represent. I thought that was an interesting comment that he had made. And listen, I'm in the camp that you have to bring him back, and you guys know my reasoning why. If you guys have watched this show before, I think he's earned it from his play from last season. But I do think those comments were very interesting. I think Kirk is almost having to come into kind of age moment in his career. He's like, listen, I made a ton of money. My family's very happy here in Minnesota. We have a really good roster that would have competed this year in the NFC if I did not get hurt. If I resign on a 2-year team-friendly deal, they can fill out the roster around me. I think Kirk is seriously considering that. I bet you him and his agent sit down with Kwesi here in a little bit and say, hey, we're willing to take a discount, but I want guarantees here for the future. And maybe Kirk will be the QB1 in the foreseeable future. But this is my favorite quote. This is coming from Justin Jefferson. Hey, if 18 wants Kirk in Minnesota, I want Kirk here in Minnesota too. But he said this. He said, I feel like I don't really have to voice my opinion that much. You can just really look at the stats and look at the play, especially before he went down this year. But I definitely will always give that extra word or two for Kirko. As much as people downgrade him and not want to give him his credit, I'm always the person that gives him his credit. People don't want to see what goes on in the building. They don't want to see the relationships that go on. Don't see the connection that goes on. Me and Kirk have a great connection. We know that's 100% true. Jefferson's been so adamant about him wanting Kirk Cousins back, and why wouldn't he, man? I mean, he's gone for 1,000 yards in every year of his career, almost broke the receiving record last year with Kirk as his QB. If you want to make Jefferson happy, make a lot of these other receivers happy, probably want to bring back Kirk Cousins for at least a 1 or 2 year deal, and that doesn't mean you can't draft a guy. But let me know, would you bring back Kirk Cousins? Y for yes, N for no. And make sure you guys are subscribed here to Vikings Now by Chat Sports. Go down there, completely free. Help us out. Hit that sub button. See you guys next time. SKOL Vikes.